turn your speakers on, please? Microphones? He didn't say he wasn't. He must just be running late. So you'll have to take charge until he gets here.
Spot here?
Yep.
Okay, being 7 o'clock, we will get this meeting going. Call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Barkle, Loest,
Here.
Kettering,
Here.
Michael,
Here.
Nelson,
Here.
Weiss,
Here.
Clark.
Here. Chris is here.
It's okay. Lauren said she really wanted to be in charge tonight, so.
On the fly.
So we did staff roll call.
What's that?
We did roll call.
Say here.
All right, so I am here. Okay, roll call. Everybody had a chance to go over the previous minutes. If there's no changes to the minutes, I need a motion to approve them.
Motion to approved, Loest.
Second, Nelson.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carried. Is there anything to be added to the agenda today?
Not to add, but we're going to take two of the plats off. They weren't able to get their signatures in time. So the James Schwach and the Jorgensen plat will move to next month.
Okay. So the agenda will be the same except taking off a couple of the plats. Nothing else. I need a motion to approve that agenda.
Motion to approve the amended agenda, Loest.
Second, Kettering.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carried. All right, conflict of interest declarations. We can start with Kathy.
None.
Nelson, none.
Kettering, none.
Barkle, none.
Loest, none.
Clark, none.
Michael, none.
All right. Our first agenda item is scheduled for 7:05, 7:03, so we have a couple minutes to kill here before we start that one. And I don't think we can squeeze in any of these plats in that time.
No, be better just to wait, I think.
Yep, we'll just wait a moment.
Is it working better to send it to my Gmail account?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I think I gave everybody 2 emails, is that right?
2.
You got more. Because yours kicked back and I gave you like 4.
I have 2.
Really?
I got 3.
I
Yeah, I
got
think
3.
Yeah, I think
got
I said
3.
3 and then it kicked back, so I divided one of those into 3 for you. So maybe, it said it went through, but maybe your system didn't like them. I think it was part 3A, 3B, 3C, and 3D.
Packet part 3, packet part 1. One has the agenda, the minutes, Doherty and Ferris, and then 3 has Blackburn, and that's it.
So I sent one of them with the CUP and three plats, but it didn't kick it back, so it must have eaten it.
Could have just be in the cloud somewhere.
Yeah, or in your spam. All right, Chris.
All right, we got 7:05, so we can start with the first agenda item, the Doherty rezone. Applicant wishes to rezone a parcel from rural transitional to lakeside commercial, per Article 18, Section 1809, and Article 20, Section 2003. Said property is legally described as Jackman Tract A in the south half of the northwest quarter of Section 16, Township 93 North, Range 56 west of the 5th PM. Yankton County, South Dakota, as per plat recorded in Book S19, page 382, less highways and roads.
So there were, the director sent letters out to property owners in rural transitional districts offering the one-time free rezone. We had two applicants. The first one is Rick Doherty. He is in that little square. As you're driving out on 52 West, just before you get to the aquarium, there's a little square lot with an old schoolhouse on it. That's where he's at, right across from Car Tracks. And everything around it is zoned lakeside commercial. So we would like to rezone that to lakeside commercial. Fits in best with everything around it. I don't think they have any plans at this point. It's just they're taking advantage of the rezone.
Now, is that the little schoolhouse that was like fireworks stand and
Yes,
stuff?
years ago it was a fireworks stand.
I'll move approval of the rezone.
Second.
Well, we need to have public comments and everything first, so.
So leave your motion pending here. We'll do public input and go through findings of fact a little bit here. Anybody here to talk on this rezone? Applicant here?
Yes.
Did you want to say anything? Come on up.
Good evening, my name's Rick Doherty, and my wife Lisa Doherty and I own that property. We also own the adjoining property to the, be the northwest, the quarry land that's right in front of the old quarry restaurant, and the former owners of Captain Norm's. But over the years, you know, we haven't done anything with the schoolhouse other than maintain the lawn, and you know, we've been approached by several people wanting to lease it to put, you know, a commercial business in there that would parallel and complement the bike trail. So at this point, once we did get that letter in the mail to rezone, we thought we'd take advantage of it and kind of do something with it and try and refurbish that schoolhouse to kind of keep the aesthetics of the lake area, you know, conducive to a nice, say, sandwich shop or bike rental or something of that nature.
Bill, what was the lot size on that?
A little over an acre, I believe. 1.01 acre.
Is there anybody else from the public who wants to speak on this rezone application? All right, seeing none, I will close public comment. I'm assuming the ingress, egress, all that stuff is staying the same as its current use, out the one driveway. Same areas used for service for garbage, parking, etc. Bill, have you had any other comments through the zoning office?
Nope, not one.
Anybody else have anything to add?
I think basically the rezone fits the intent of what the rezone was for the rural transitional in that area. That was the direction we figured everything was heading back when that was established, so. I think that's fine, and Don made the motion, so.
We already-
Motion still stands and second it.
Do we need to walk through our list? So number one, for section 1805, all documents required for application have been completed and fees paid, and I think we can check that. Individual petitioner provides a completed amendment or change in zone request, must clearly state special conditions and circumstances exist which require the land to be rezoned. And it's currently rural transitional, and you can't do much in that. So if you want to put a business there, you can't, not even with a CUP. So there is a special condition which requires a rezone. Special conditions, circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant. And I don't think that applies. The granting of the amendment or change will not confer any special privilege that is denied by this ordinance to other lands, structures, or buildings. So I think those are all met. Notice of public hearing was given. Public hearing shall be held, which is this. Any party may appear. The public has chosen not to comment. The Planning Commission shall make findings that the requirements of this section have been met by the applicant for an amendment to include reasons set forth in the application justify a recommendation to approve. The amendment or change in zone will make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure. A recommendation to grant the amendment or change in zone will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of this ordinance. And it was discussed how across the road is the zone that we are looking to move it to. And actually, the park is to the left, and if I'm right, that's their sanitation dump system. So it's not like their neighbors are going to be, affected negatively by a business being put there. A recommendation of approval will not be injurious to the neighborhood or otherwise detrimental public welfare. No petition for amendment or change in zone shall be recommended for approval unless a planning commission finds the condition, situation, or intended use is unique, required, or necessary. Before any amendment or a petition for rezoning is recommended for approval, the Planning Commission shall make written findings certifying compliance with the comprehensive plan. Specific rules governing land uses, zoning district regulations, and satisfactory provision and arrangement has been made concerning the following. Compliance with all ordinances, etc., ingress, egress, off right-of-way parking, refuse and service areas, utilities, screening and buffering, signs, required yards, general compatibility with adjacent properties. So in all of that list, does anybody have any concerns they see? I just can't see anything glaring for why this land shouldn't be rezoned.
I think it meets the whole checklist. We pretty much touched on all those issues. So I believe,
And no conditions required. So that's the last thing. We may prescribe conditions and safeguards, but I can't think of any off the top of my head that are needed.
I don't think there'd be any conditions needed. Fits in with the rest of the area right there, which I don't believe that they have any conditions either. But I guess we have a motion from Don and a second. I guess
Dennis
got the
seconded.
second, so.
You seconded it, Don's motion, right?
Correct.
Any other input from the board? If not, we can do roll call vote when you're ready, Bill.
Barkle,
Yes.
Loest,
Yes.
Kettering,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
All right, motion carried. All right, the next one is the Ferris rezone. Applicant wishes to rezone a parcel from rural transitional district to moderate density residential district per Article 18, Section 1809, and Article 20, Section 2003. Said property is legally described as the west 23 rods, south 14 rods in the southwest quarter, excluding Lot H2 in Section 18, Township 94 North, Range 55 west of the 5th PM, Yankton County, South Dakota.
Second one of the free rezones. This is on 81 going north, 1.8 acres. It's a single-family dwelling. Want to transition to moderate density residential. And there are some moderate density residential in the vicinity. There and there.
All the think is moderate density?
Yes, yeah. And this was just rezoned, last year to moderate density residential.
What's the red down below there? That's commercial?
Commercial, yep.
Minimum lot size for R2 is 1 acre, right?
Correct.
Is there currently a building site there?
Yeah, it's a single family dwelling.
Okay.
Was an old dance hall.
They're just
Really?
trying to get into compliance with the use.
Is that the one with the Sasquatch?
Yes.
You cannot move that Sasquatch.
It's the old red rooster over Sasquatch, is all it is now, man. And the applicant is here to speak.
All right, if you don't have anything else, Bill, invite the applicant up if you wish to talk.
Good evening, I'm Alan Ferris. I own that corner with my wife Dawn Ferris. We've lived there for over 30 years. It's been the old Red Rooster. It was the old Farmers Union Hall north of town, and it's the Sasquatch house now. And so we just want to bring it into compliance because, hey, it is completely out of compliance with every other rule. It seems like that there is, because 4 feet of our house is on the right of way for the highway, and there's no sight lines because our house is literally on the corner. But it'd be nice to at least have this in compliance. So if we ever do sell it, it'll be one less thing to worry about.
Anybody have any questions for Alan? Thanks. Anybody else from the public wish to speak? Seeing none, I will close public comment. Just board discussion.
Have you got the list, Sherry?
Well, don't know
I
if it's
don't see it
in
in
the
the
packet.
packet.
I'm gonna go back to the last one and
That's what I
should be
was just-
exactly that. You gonna walk through there, Chris, or do you want me to do it?
You can go ahead.
Okay, I must be really slow on scrolling.
It's not in the Ferris part of the packet
Yeah,
that I'm finding.
I went, no, that's not it. There we go. Okay, so from 1805, required documents have been satisfied and completed and fees paid. Said request must clearly state special conditions and circumstances exist for the rezone. Special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant, and the granting of the amendment or change in zoning will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by this ordinance to other lands. So I think all of those have been met. Next is notice of public hearing was given. A public hearing is held tonight. We asked for public comment, none was given. Planning Commission shall make findings that include the reasons set forth in the application justify a recommendation to approve. The amendment or change in zone will make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure. A recommendation to grant the amendment or change in zone will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of this ordinance, and the recommendation of approval will not be injurious to the neighborhood or otherwise detrimental to the public welfare as presented and testified to by the applicant. I see no issues there. Number 6, no petition for amendment or change in zone shall be recommended for approval unless the Planning Commission finds the condition, situation, or intended use of the property concerned is unique, required, or necessary as to make reasonably practicable the amendment or change in zone. Item 7, before any amendment or petition for rezone, Planning Commission shall make written findings certifying compliance with the comprehensive plan, specific rules governing land uses, zoning district regulations, and satisfactory provision and arrangement has been made concerning the following: certification of compliance with all ordinances and regulations, ingress and egress, off right-of-way parking, refuse and service areas, utilities, screening and buffering, signs, if any, and proposed exterior lighting, required yards and other open spaces, general compatibility with adjacent properties. So I do believe that, as was stated, they're trying to actually align it more with what our zoning is, and it is a residential use. And actually, in rural transitional, you're supposed to have a CUP for a single-family dwelling, which I'm sure you were there well before zoning, so you didn't have to do that, but it certainly does fit the use with that. So, and it's not your fault that you are in the right-of-way and all of that good stuff. So, in recommending approval of any petition for amendment or change in zone, the Planning Commission may prescribe appropriate conditions and safeguards. I cannot think of any that are required for this application.
Yep, I think it's getting more in compliance. Purpose rural transitional is hopefully go up to something else, and we're already kind of getting a corridor there of other housing districts, so I'd
Well,
say that it's,
Will be interesting what it looks like after a four-way is extended by your house.
I was gonna ask Gary, that green line on the west side, is that, I mean, Allen too, is that the right of way right there?
Yes.
Yes.
Hokey Pete.
Yeah.
And it could be a little bit off, I mean, our
still.
drawings aren't exact, but it's close.
When they
They're pretty
staked out
close.
the
Did they
last
survey
highway
it?
project, 3 feet of the foundation is on the road.
Okay.
Yeah. So, because that is the plan, is to extend that 4-lane
Yeah, it's
past 303.
closer to my house, they told me.
You put a drive-up window in.
Maybe you wanna switch to commercial, because maybe there might be some business opportunity there.
I do appreciate the Santa hat on Sasquatch
Yeah,
when Christmas rolls around. So if there's no other discussion, I would make a motion to approve the rezone as proposed, based on findings of fact.
Second.
all right, I have a motion by Loest, second by Kettering. We can vote when you're ready.
Barkle,
Yes.
Loest,
Yes.
Kettering,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Weiss,
yes,
Clark.
Yes.
All right, motion carried. Next agenda item is the White conditional use permit. Applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to build a single-family dwelling in a lakeside commercial district per Article 11, Section 1107. Said property is legally described as Lot 1, Metz Peterson addition in the north half of the northeast quarter, Section 15, Township 93 North, Range 56 west of the 5th PM, Yankton County, South Dakota.
Mr. White's here. His family owns this parcel. There's one house on it. It's 2 acres, so he'd like to put a second house on it where he can live. He's moving back to town. Since they have at least 2 acres, they can do it without platting it off, as long as he meets the setbacks. Just because it's lakeside commercial, we need the conditional use permit.
So is there currently a family that lives in
Yeah,
the other
is it your
house?
sister and brother-in-law? Yes. He's just trying to move back closer to family, so.
And if you put the house where it's planning, would it meet the setbacks? If you were to plat it off separate, it would still meet the setbacks from the
When he
other?
applies for his building permit, it'll have to meet that requirement. They've got 2.53 acres, so they have enough room to do it. Excuse me. The only comments I had were a couple people clarifying which lot it was exactly, nobody objected to it.
So it will be replatted? or
No,
not? It
because
won't
it's
be.
over 2 acres, they don't have to. They just have to make sure they situate the second house in a way where it meets,
Where if it was replatted.
if it was replatted, it would meet the required setbacks.
And it's like a house or,
Yes.
so it'll fit right in there.
Yes, it will.
Is that building running east and west then? For the,
The one that they're going to build,
right.
were you gonna put it facing the highway?
That's
Correct, yes.
So like the 3 big garage doors that you got in the packet here, that would be facing the highway.
Yes.
And that's a preliminary plan.
Unless there's any questions for Bill, I'd invite the applicant up if you want to speak on it.
I'm Milton White. Thank you for having me. Good evening to everyone. The family's agreed to allow me to pursue this request to build right next to my sister. My mother's 89. She's taking care of her and her home. My brother-in-law is being treated for prostate cancer. I lost my wife to lung cancer in June. I have friends in Rapid City, but my family's here. So I'm wishing to move back closer to family to help my sister care for her husband and my mother. I think that would be an ideal location right next door.
So Milton, do you actually own the lot, not your sister?
I do not.
Oh, your sister owns the lot?
It will remain in their name. The intent would be to have a lifelong lease for $1 to protect my financial interest.
I believe there's a authorization, a verification from the owner in the packet, giving him permission, stating that they're aware he's applying for the conditional use permit.
So you would be using the same like driveway there and just adding a leg off of it to go to the new building?
Exactly. It'd be the driveway from the house to the west, a branch off of that out in probably the middle part of that acre. That would branch off the driveway to my sister's home there.
I'm assuming all the utilities are probably going to branch off of your sister's, or are they coming off the highway, new ones?
I suspect there's a box there for electrical right next to the driveway, so I suspect they'd branch off right there. Water and electrical's right there at the driveway edge on the east side.
All right, anybody else have any questions for Milton? All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else from the audience wishes to speak on this conditional use permit application? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Board discussion?
So this is allowed per 1503, erection of more than one principal structure on a lot, correct? So I'm just going to read that so everybody's aware of it. In any district, more than one structure housing a permitted or permissible principal use may be erected on a single lot, provided that yard and other requirements of this ordinance shall be met for each structure as though it were on an individual lot.
Is the area large enough, though? I guess my only concern is the fact that at some point when something happens to both families, that is it on an area large enough that can be plotted
Yes.
separately away from
It's
the rest of?
2.53 acres, so there, it's one, yeah, so they've got enough room, they could divide it in half.
Right.
And each would have enough to be conforming.
That was my only concern, is
Yep.
just make sure that the setbacks, you know,
Yep.
would fit into that, so that you're not built right on a line someplace that
We-
would ended up having to
Yeah.
be.
When he applies for the building permit, we'll verify that there's enough room the way it lays out.
Okay.
So the minimum lot is 20,000 square foot, so a half acre.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
understand that, I just,
Yep.
so it doesn't end up being too close to the road.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the other gentleman was, and
Yep.
then when it comes time to have to plot it, you're gonna come in for a variance or something like that, trying to change it, so. At the point when it would have to be done, if it would have to.
Since he's building way to the north, he basically has to just deal with that east property lines.
Right.
So do you want me to walk through the list?
Go for it.
So the public notice and hearing were given. This is the public hearing. Planning Commission shall make a recommendation either to grant with conditions, or deny. So the Planning Commission must make written findings, including ingress and egress to proposed structures thereon. So we discussed that. Off right-of-way parking and loading areas where required. This technically isn't a business, so we're not talking trucks are going to be delivering items every day, or customers will be arriving. Refuse and service areas with particular reference to items A and B above. Utilities, we discussed. Screening and buffering with reference to type, dimensions, or character. It was not mentioned that anything was required during our discussion. Signs, if any, and proposed exterior lighting with reference to glare, traffic safety, and economic effect. Required yards and other open spaces, general compatibility with adjacent properties and other property in the district, and that the granting of the conditional use will not adversely affect the public interest. So,
I guess touching on the lighting and all that, it's been mentioned to the applicant on the corridor lighting and all that for the Highway 52 corridor.
We haven't discussed it, but because it's a residence, and we'll verify that when we get the application.
Okay.
He will have to get his own E911 address sign also.
I guess down in that area, it's all basically mixed
Campgrounds.
use of residences, campgrounds.
Yeah, you got campgrounds on this side, got a little space here, and campgrounds on this side, and residence here.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 houses there along that
there's a house
side.
right next door, yeah.
So I guess, I think it looks like it'd be compatible with the area. It's not going to change anything, really. There's a house next door on
Everything above it on the bluff,
Yeah.
single family.
everything north of it. East of it is housing already, so I think that it would fit in.
there's no further discussion, I make a motion to approve the CUP application based on findings of fact.
Second?
Have a motion by Loest, second by Nelson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote when you're ready.
Barkle,
Yes.
Loest,
Yes.
Kettering,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
All right, motion carried.
Welcome. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, on to the plats. First plat is the Svedson.
Correct.
Want to go through that, Bill?
Yep, this is, Farmstead. They're surveying off this piece and all the buildings. It's not quite a square, but they did get all the buildings in it. Let's see here.
So how many acres is it then?
Jen?
Just a second here.
It's 5.2. Lot size 5.2
5.21.
on the application.
That's not Schwab's, sorry. Go a little further.
Yeah, I think there should, the swap one was 10 or something. This is
5.21 acres.
5.2 then. It's the old Auni place.
Sorry?
It's the old Auni farm.
We do.
So this is just the farmstead exemption?
Yes.
Ag zone.
Yep.
Any other questions?
And I make a motion to approve the plot.
All right.
Loest, second.
Motion is second. Vote when you're ready, Bill.
Barkle,
Yes.
Loest,
Yes.
Kettering,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
All right, motion carried. The Schwak plat, we're skipping for tonight, right?
Correct.
And the Jorgensen plot skipped as well, right? Okay, so Blackburn plot.
So, Mr. Blackburn is here. He owns this parcel. He has just shy of 1.93 acres. He has purchased land here to add to it. And then they're dividing it in half so that he can build a second house for his son on that second half. And again, they'll have to meet, with the new plat, they'll have to meet their setbacks. I'll pull up the plat here for you. Very good luck with these today.
So is this to add in the new
This is
property, or is it to,
both.
and to split it?
Yep, so this is the new property that is purchased, and then we're splitting it in half here. So they each are conforming lots. And he purchased this so he'd have 2 acres, so he could divide it in half. Moderate density residential, 1 acre minimum. And then there's an easement through the first lot to the existing house back here, and then they'll build a second house on this lot.
Could you pull up Beacon again, shows?
Yes. So they added a strip along here, and they're surveying it off. surveyed out so this house meets the setbacks of the new line.
The new house is gonna squeeze in on the southeast corner there?
I believe right here, John, isn't that correct? Yep, right down here.
And that'll meet the setbacks?
Yes.
Go to the plat again. There's a lot going on here.
So the existing house sits here.
Right there.
This was his original property line.
The dash line was the previous lot line. Okay,
Yes.
so we're adding that and then
So
we're
you-
dividing it in half.
Yes.
So is there another plat to show that that land was changed?
No, I don't think that was ever platted. That's a large, yeah, I don't think it was ever
16
platted.
acres up there?
Well over the 1 acre parcel, it's like
15,
9 acres or something.
it's 15.96.
Almost 16 acres.
But there's no plat on that land? I mean, I've got a plat on all my land. If I sold some of mine, I'd have to replat that, and there's,
Still meets and bounds.
interesting. Oh,
We run
We
it-
have a
old
lot of-
laws.
A lot of them still meets and bounds.
Okay, so on the plat, it shows an ingress egress
Yes.
there.
Driveway?
So that
And that's the
is
driveway, but
this
in my,
driveway.
okay, so
And
how,
this new lot is gonna give an easement, so through this.
okay.
So this second lot will have this easement.
So is our map not matching because the inflection point, the driveway is below and on, well, I guess it, yeah, I guess I was looking at the inflection point out here and it doesn't match that.
I have aerial photos if you'd rather see. Oh, yeah, I see what.
You see what I'm saying there?
I feel
Yeah.
like it doesn't match.
The angle.
That was the only question I had
It
was,
looks like it's above the driveway and not below.
it does.
Right.
And I'm just curious.
I'm really hard.
It's at a different
I don't know
angle.
what you're saying, but
Okay.
Yeah, I see.
this is my existing house.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the driveway.
Yep.
I have to look here. Put the other house clear over here.
Okay. Yeah. Anybody else wanna look at those?
That's what they surveyed.
Yeah, it's a little different angle, comes down this way as opposed to down this way on Beacon.
Yeah,
It's
because
a little bit different.
The new house would go here somewhere.
I don't know, that was my only question, is to make sure that that
Yeah.
easement is lined up. I would assume they measured it.
Yeah,
Who knows the driveway?
Okay.
The setback will be off of the right of way?
yeah. He's saying they moved it, they're gonna move the driveway, is what he said.
It's going, cause you seen the driveway goes down at an angle.
Yep.
It's going straight across.
So he's gonna modify it.
Perfect. That's all I needed.
I know, it just look odd.
That's all I needed. Okay, meets and bounds. Shake my head.
There's a lot of them, you'd be surprised. That area was planted before, it was a subdivision. Yeah.
Okay.
That was 9 lots, I think.
Okay. Any other concerns before we entertain motion?
What is the setback?
It's 30 from the front, 20 from the back, and 10 from the sides.
It doesn't leave a whole lot of room.
Nope, but they've had the surveyor out there a couple times and measured everything, and
But that's why in reality, he can go all the way down to the southeast, south side, 10 feet from that lot line if he wanted to.
yeah. So the front for both of them is gonna be Lakeview Terrace. This is the side, this is the back, so 30 feet from here, 20 feet from wherever that line is here. They've got enough room in here, and then just 10 feet off here.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. No other discussion? We can vote when you're ready.
Barkle,
Yes.
Loest,
Yes.
Kettering,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
All right, motion carried.
It's not a very big house,
That's a good thing.
900 square feet maybe or something.
Maybe.
Maybe less.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
All right, so that is all of our plats. Next agenda item is the discussion and definitions in Article 5, which actually got changed into Article 29, I believe.
Yes.
Okay.
If I may, thank you all
Yep.
much for your service to the commission.
Yep, thanks for coming out and speaking.
Good night.
Bye.
All right, let's see.
I think you mentioned, Chris, you probably just kind of talked to the three of you that aren't on the task force about what you kind of went through at the last meeting.
Yep, so, guess what we've kind of gone through so far, a lot of it stayed the same as the red line version that Gary outlined for us last planning commission meeting. Some of the main changes, through the solar task force, we thought that it'd be better off to separate it out into a separate article instead of just leaving it in Article 5. That way we can put the same rules into other zoning districts. Specifically, we're thinking that it should be allowed in commercial as a conditional use permit as well as ag zone district. So make Article 29 reference it in the other articles. Did you send out your Article 29 to the
Yes.
whole planning commission? Okay, so
Everybody got it, should have got it last week.
yeah, so I guess I made
Last Friday.
made some notes on it. I don't know if we're gonna go through that right now, but basically we came up with some other definitions that we talked about, kind of talked about going away from the building mounted systems that we discussed earlier.
Maybe we should take a step back and talk about, we had explained to them that we had discussed not regulating rooftop in this group, but in the task force, it was felt that we needed to regulate rooftop if it was over a certain size. So everybody seemed to be okay with the 50 as the trigger to regulate any solar. So whether if you've got a roof that's huge and you wanted to put 100 on there, then you would have to have essentially a CUP. If you put 45 on there, you wouldn't. So that was kind of the tipping point, if you will, and that drove the change in the definition. So there was no longer a need to have a definition for a building-mounted solar system and a ground-mounted. It's essentially just a solar system itself. So it really simplified the definition per se. So, and I don't think our task force has not walked through that document
No, we
per
haven't.
se. So any feedback that any of you have on that document, the three of us can take back Thursday at 3 o'clock and bring that up. We did go, are you gonna touch on the setbacks is probably an issue?
Yeah.
Because we did talk about setbacks there.
Yeah, so if we go to the setbacks, I think it was mentioned at Planning Commission last time, making the setbacks similar to what was in ag, for ag projects. And that's pretty much what we stuck with. At the solar task force, we kind of simplified the setback chart where now it's just got residences, municipalities. I think residents got doubled up.
Took out wells.
Took out all the well stuff. Just basically had lakes, rivers, and streams, municipalities, residences, right-of-way line, property line, and the floodplain. But those distances pretty much stayed the same as the previous setback chart. So just a little bit simplified there, and then like Sherry said, we simplified on the solar size being the triggering factor on what we thought should be regulated.
I did see, and Gary, like where Mike had responded to your email that went out about
Right.
the large farms and the 660-foot
Yeah,
setback
with the
on
commercial.
a commercial like that, and did you spend any time on, you know, I mean,
That was
this
brought
is,
up a little bit, but yeah, I think, and I had another comment on that too, because you just don't have a lot of commercial pieces that would meet that type of setback. Besides Napa, that's pretty much the only bigger commercial piece, maybe one, no. I was thinking maybe the one on 46, but that won't even meet it either, so, because they have two right-of-ways there. So, that's something we may want to talk about more again on Thursday. That was one of the comments that was made is, and then, you know, the comment about, the definitions, we hadn't even talked about whether we were truly going to put them in under definitions or leave them in the article. There's just some of those little things we have to go back through again Thursday.
Yeah, I guess I made quite a few notes on the Article 29 thing. I don't think we really need to get into all of that right now, but I guess one of the other things that we talked about was, like in the Article 29 here that Gary wrote up, the surety requirements of basically having like an escrow account instead of like a bond for any solar project as far as the decommissioning and everything goes to help take care of that. And then one of the other things on here, I believe I saw it, was basically prohibiting like the concentrating solar thermal devices where they have like the big tower and concentrated beam for heating materials or whatever. We felt that we should prohibit that. That got put in here. I think those are kind of the main points that we touched on. Am I forgetting anything, Sherry or Lauren?
So just for the other three, so Thursday's meeting, we're going to have a guest speaker from BY Electric, Stephanie Horst, that's coming in to speak to us for 30 minutes. And then we're going to focus on roads, environmental concerns, and decommissioning is kind of the topics that we plan on talking more about.
And I guess one of the other people, we were trying to get somebody from PUC to come in and talk to us, but we haven't had anybody scheduled yet, so, as far as I know.
Did you guys discuss the guy from Nebraska?
That came in and talked about the wind.
Yeah.
Yeah, he came, we didn't really talk about the wind at all, but,
Robert Burns you're talking about?
no, this was the guy that came to
Nelson.
last
Nelson.
Tuesday's meeting
Yeah.
to the county commission, the week before, so, but no, we didn't really talk about the wind side at all.
Okay.
He had a lot of concerns, especially with the tying up of liens issue that he talked about.
What was his name?
Doug
Doug
Nelson.
Ne-
Doug
Doug-
Nelson?
Doug Nelson.
Yeah, and he's from,
Down by Laurel,
Yes.
south of Laurel, between
Yeah.
Laurel and the next
Yes.
one.
yeah.
But that was your last commission meeting he came?
Mhm.
Okay,
County commission.
can watch that.
Yep. And my understanding is when when the task force finishes, then it will come to here, this group, for input.
I take our conversation basically right now is FYI, so we kind of know what we're going at, what the task force is doing and what they're discussing, but as far as any recommendations to you at this point, I think the task force has to go through its job, that's why you put into that.
I guess
But
if you have any ideas, we're open to hear
I was gonna
them.
say, if you see, if you go through that document and you see anything glaring, I mean, that you really have an issue with, that you're a, you're a no vote on,
I'm
then
not
make
going to do that, I'm just saying
make
that
sure.
I'd kind of like to see, get closer to a kind of a finished product so that you can kind of go and, and say, okay, maybe you need to do this,
Yeah.
because I know that you're just beginning or kind of in the middle of all the discussion and
Yeah,
you
so,
can't hit all the bases of the first.
so
couple of meetings.
basically, the plan is they were kind of gonna get a bullet item outline that would then come to planning commission, and then you would all finish it off from there, basically.
Yep, I guess that's kind of how we felt we'd stay kind of higher up and, as far as getting into the weeds of like this Article 29 and all the wording, I don't know if we're actually gonna go through that with a fine tooth comb at the solar task force, but kind of just get the outline there and then we can hammer it out here
Yep.
as far as the nitty gritty on it. But
And McCook County Commission today had a meeting at 11:45 to enact an emergency zoning moratorium on solar farms. So, and I haven't heard, person hasn't got back to me how that vote went, so. We're not the only county.
I was kind of interested in Mike's comment on your response to what you put here about the one out in Pennington County with 1,500 acres. And I really wonder, with all the hailstorms that they have out there, how you maintain a solar farm in that area. Because, I mean, they get big hail.
I'm sure they pay a hefty insurance bill every year.
Yeah.
yes.
Greenhouse is scary enough.
I hear people speaking on both sides, for and against. I think the problem is they don't have the technical knowledge behind the profitability, the environmental, they don't know about that. They just think about, it's cheap energy, it makes sense. No more. So I think part of our challenge will be educating the public.
Yeah.
No form of energy is cheap.
Pardon?
Said no form of energy is cheap.
No.
You pay for it somewhere.
all right, well, unless there's anything to add, I'd entertain, well, I guess we gotta move on. Public comment. Seeing none, close public comment. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All,
I did. Dennis
Michael. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are adjourned.
Sherry,
Yeah.
would you throw that Kleenex box down here? Working in my wood shop today.